Bartenders of Reddit, what is the most awkward encounter you witnessed between two drunk people flirting? I cocktail bartend in a very wealthy part of Brisbane and I had a guy walk up to a chick. Pulls $500 from his wallet, grabs her ass and offers the cash to her to have sex with him in the bathrooms. She slapped him in the face and threw the drink I had just passed her at him. He is shocked for some reason. Stalks off in a huff. About an hour later security throws them out for snorting coke and F-king in the bathrooms. I was bartending and had this couple that was sort of regulars. She would order more buttery nipples than anyone should ever order. Ever. After her 8th buttery nipple, she called me over and asked with her increasingly slurring speech, she asks me, "Hey, do ya wanna know why I always drink buttery nipples?" And then flashed me her boobies for an extended moment right next to her boyfriend. He was not so happy with her. But it didn't ruin their night. So that was cool. Update: the nipples were pretty decent. They were also pierced as well. So there's that. A couple college guys were hitting on this fiery Irish redhead who clearly wanted nothing to do with them. She ended up going to the jukebox to get away from them. Picked a couple rock songs and sat down somewhere else. The guys thought it would be a great idea to go to the jukebox, look her in the eyes and pay extra to have their song, I believe it was SI and I Know It, start immediately playing. She almost started a bar fight with them. Not what they were going for, I think. So I've bartended on and off for about 12 years. And a few weeks ago I saw the absolute worst encounter of my entire career. Lady came in and sat down. She was a drop-dead gorgeous redhead whose ID said 41 but I would have guessed 28-32. We chatted for a bit and she told me she was here to meet a blind date she had found using Ehamoni. After a little while I noticed she was still alone. And was already thinking about how this poor guy was about to miss out on a golden opportunity. And then he showed up. Out of breath. Sweaty. And looking like Milton from Office Space. He waddled up to her at the bar. Introduced himself. And said, "I thought you said you were gonna dress up?" Oh. Needless to say, the date didn't last long. At an anime convention in Chicago, a girl cosplaying some character is sitting down taking a break. Fat scruffy guy walks up and sits down next to her. He asks her if she has any STDs. She says no and they both get up and leave together. Maybe STDs were short for standards? At a CrossFit Christmas party being held at a local sports bar known for Douchy patrons, I got to witness a spectacularly drunk CrossFitter hit on my friend at a time with the amazing pickup line of "SOOO lem tell you about my workout," followed by full-on flex grunting to show his guns, and lifting his shirt to show her his flabby stomach, while asking her if she wanted to feel his abs. She immediately latched onto one of the equally douchy but more ripped partygoers. Flex boy didn't notice that she left and kept staring at his abs while telling my no longer their friend about his workout before he looked up and noticed that she was gone. Dude was a bad gym meme come to life. Old drunk guy not catching on that the hot young girl talking to him was a prostitute. And the prostitute not realizing that he doesn't know. And actually thinks she's interested in him. Meanwhile the whole situation is clear as day to me and other patrons around them. But these two are just fumbling through the conversation. Completely unaware that they're both misunderstanding each other. Pretty sad. But hilarious. You get used to hearing the middle of people's conversations as a bartender or waiter. It's fun sometimes. Sometimes a drunk, middle-aged woman clearly on a blind date with a guy with a ponytail says things like, "Dot." And I've never been more humiliated and turned on at the same time. I saw the guy walk up to a girl. She slapped him. He immediately repeated the same thing to her friend. Got slapped. He went down the line and girls turned away. Slapped him. Threw a drink in his face. No pause from one girl to the next. After a dozen, he got bounced. I never found out what was asked. And so I can only appreciate his tenacity. Somewhere there is a princess out there that will choke this guy while shitting on his chest on camera and he is gonna find her. Drink are almost never actually thrown in a bar. But this got at least one. He probably said slap me or throw your drink in my face. I got to the bar early for my shift to work. I killed time by playing pool with my brother, who was the head cook. We finished our last game and on my way to the bar I got stopped by a younger married couple who were day drunk. That was leaving. Well, she grabbed my arm and in her drunken state of mind goes, "Oh my god. You look like that guy from Zac Brown band. What is name up?" I came in with Zac Brown. I get it all the time, except I'm ginger, with my majestic beard and sock hat. She asked if we could take a picture and handed her husband the phone. Right before he took the picture, she turned to me and licked my beard from my jawline all the way to my hairline. The look on my face in the pic was of complete and utter disgust. She thanked me and left. Not a bartender, but I witnessed some aggressive finger banging in a Berlin bar. Edit. More detail. She was an American girl who had already minneswept a bunch of nasty shots we had won and then proceeded to tell us in explicit detail how she had been fingered in the ass at Oktoberfest recently, so we already viewed her with a mix of shock, disgust, admiration. We could see she was bouncing from group of guys to group of guys very drunk. Then next thing I know my friend lets out a HA. I look over my shoulder and there it is. She's hanging off this guy like a sloth on ecstasy. Pink thong flying all over the place. It was an eventful holiday. Breaking down that Berlin wall of shame. Used to work at a bar when I was at uni. I remember at the end of one night the guy had been grafting on a girl all night who was just mugging him off for expensive drinks. And then just turned in the spot. Didn't say thanks or anything and disappeared into the night. He cried. And called out, "Wait. Come back. Let me finger ye." A 300 plus sloppy drunk blonde chick at a bachelorette party, not the bride to be. Just one of her friends. Trying to aggressively hit on one of my regulars. She was wearing a tank top at least 2 sizes too small and a crown with little penises all over it. My regular, albeit a very attractive man, is also very gay. He was too shy to say anything and tried to be nice because he understood that she was blitzed. She grabbed his face and licked, slobbered up his neck and face and tried to grab his crotch under the bar multiple times. Your friend was sexually assaulted. Not a bartender, but a house worker in a restaurant with a full service bar. I was delivering some appetizers to a couple at the bar and caught a small snippet of their conversation as I dropped off the food. Remind me later. I gotta clean the windows at home. Baby. I'd love to clean your effkin windows real good. They then leaned over to kiss, but missed each other's mouths. The girl just sort of sucked on his chin for a second before they realized they had food. I still have no idea what was happening there. Well, as a bartender in a very small town for many years I've seen a lot, but the worst one was personal. I watched a local girl, known for her promiscuous ways, flirt with and eventually, months later, sleep with my boyfriend while I was working the bar. In the end of the 90s, I bartended extra on a boat that did cruises in Stockholm. One afternoon we had a company event. About 35 guests from a roofing company. 20 minutes before docking, one of the guys gets up on the table, yells collar H tilde la grabber. Sim nota, comma, which loosely translates to, "Look at this, boys. I'm gonna swim the check." And then promptly jumps overboard and starts swimming for land, not far at all. The face of his colleagues was priceless. And the laughters when his boss proclaimed "I've already paid" was deafening. Not a bartender, but once a drunk 50-plus-year-old said he should take me out for a hot turkey sandwich. I was so bowled over by the romance. Saw a guy walk out and barf outside the bar. He was making out with a girl he hooked on a semi-regular basis about 3 minutes later. Guess she was also too drunk to recognize the barf breath. My roommate's a bartender, not me. But one night while I was at the bar he works at, we watched this kid that just turned 21 get way too drunk and start making out with this lady that had to be in her late 50s early 60s. She was rough looking. Like she looked like she'd been picking up dudes at the bar since she was 21 and never stopped. The kid ended up leaving with her and me and my roommate just laughed about how he was gonna regret it in the morning. My drunk friend decided to slide on his knees across the floor to impress a girl. All the buttons on his jeans popped off. I witnessed two middle-aged people make out aggressively on a bar patio. A lot of clearly visible tongue. Eventually everyone on the patio is focusing on the very public display of affection. A stranger walks up behind the man and starts petting the man's head. I watched the man's facial expression change from satisfaction to angry confusion very quickly. He tries to start a fight with said stranger. A bouncer intervenes. But the makeout artist is still upset. Gets into with the bouncer. Mockingly slaps his face lightly. Bouncer had none of that. And aggressively removed him from the patio. People clapped. Not a bartender. But me as a patron. Got drunk and told my bartender to get two girls across the way whatever they wanted on my tab. 3 hours later. I'm told, I pitched a fit after I looked at my tab because I don't drink Jigger, let alone Jigger bombs. Who the FCK even likes those? They politely reminded me that I was Big Willie earlier. Buying drinks for strange girls. I way over tipped in embarrassment before removing myself from the scene. Guy and girl come in. They are lifelong friends but the way they are interacting suggests they like each other. I push the issue to get them to hook up. Of course they do the typical no. But look at each other like. Maybe? Anyway. Leaves to use the bathroom. Girl starts telling me why she can't hook up with him. As she's getting to the real reason. He's walking back to the bar. I look at him as to hint, hey, he's back. Don't say what you are about to whisper but clearly don't want him to know. She gets the hint and look back over her shoulder but as perfect timing would have it. When she looked over her left shoulder. He was to her right. Then when she looked over her right shoulder. He had walked to her left. So she's thinking the cost is clear and proceeds to say I hook up with his wife. He's going through a divorce and he doesn't know. Just as he is sitting down next to her. He hears it. I hear it. She see him and say hey I. He just kinda sits there for a minute processing it. On a very busy night. A guy who just walked up to the bar reached over and grabbed my shoulder and started splurging out his order to me. I politely told him that there was a couple of people in front of him that I would serve him first and he started cutting me out. His wife jumps in and apologizes saying sorry. He just found out he's not getting any tonight and he's a little bit insecure about. Gestures down, everyone laughed. He walked away. The guy next up bought the wife a drink. Justice was served. I was hanging out with my very drunk friend at a bar when a guy comes up to her on behalf of his friend. He says my friend over there is so good with women. He's like a snake with no venom. My friend's eyes get big and she asks so he just squeezes them to death. He walked away. I always wondered what he was going to say next. To let you know op. I guarantee you the security see more of this shit than the bartender as the bartenders are mostly busy serving drinks. Source. Was serving a middle-aged couple who were on a mission to get trashed. When they first sat down they seemed to be really into each other. They were flirting and just seemed really happy. About 2 hours go by and they pulled a 180. They were arguing and angry. She FCKS off for however long and this boyfriend starts to get a little too friendly with me. I decide to walk away and as I'm going towards the back I see his girlfriend come out of the restroom with another guy. Not a bartender. But I used to be that guy who would walk around a party with a handle of Fireball and take shots with random people friends. Okay. So this particular party me and a good friend of mine were observing our friend who when obscenely drunk tended to do some dumbass shit. We notice he's talking to a bombshell blonde over by the fire. So we walk over to these two random chicks and start talking to them and taking a couple swigs. Anyways. We get into this conversation until our friend. who at this point is slurring and just talking himself up. Says yeah. You can call me Bobo. Only my mom calls me that. It was one of the most surreal moments of my life. Me and my friend turn towards each other with open mouths and at the same time yell Bobo. And immediately lose our shit and run away laughing giddily like two middle school girls. But yeah. He doesn't remember saying it, but I'm sure that woman will remember forever. I know I will.